Hi, hi. After about an hour or so of discussing shows that did not make the cut, we are finally ready to get into the list proper. We ended our honorable mention section by talking about two slice of life shows that I really enjoyed, Tonari no Kyuketsuki-san and Anime Yell, that were both fantastic slice of life shows that just couldn't beat out some other slice of life shows that aired in 2018. So we're going to talk about one of those shows now to begin our list. Coming in at 15th, we have Slow Start. This show I did not actually watch as it was airing. I had a slow start on it. I don't know. It was just like a very busy season, and it looked good, but it looked like just the generic slice of life type show, and I was in abundance of those already, so I kind of just filed it away. And it wasn't until much later in the year that, having heard some really good things about it, I had a few days where I was really sick and home from work, and I marathoned the whole thing, and I was super enchanted and compelled by it. Um, it seems like a pretty typical slice of life series. We've got these four girls who become great friends and hang out all the time. There's really no gimmicks to it outside of the fact that Hannah, the main character who's way back here in the screenshot, was sick the day of her entrance exam and thus is a year older than the rest of the girls, which is sometimes kind of played for jokes and then at other times is kind of a point of sincerity and connection with the character, which is nice, but generally just doesn't really matter at all. So very, very pure slice of life with great characterization and nice, fun jokes and nice, lively animation, really focusing on bringing out the personalities of the characters and their movements, which I really like. But it's more than that, though. In fact, the description I gave of it is barely even half the story. All because of this character here. It wasn't until a few episodes in that I realized what the show really was. And when I found out that the creator of the manga for this series was the legendary Hakkyu, I think? Hakkya? Hold on, we'll find out. We can find this out. 1 second. Hakaya. So Hakaya is a legendary Saki Dojinshi artist who's done like a million Hisa Kyaputan Dojinshi. And it's so obvious in retrospect that these are the same person. So much of their style overlaps. And the intense Yuri energy that starts to emanate from this series, all from this girl, becomes very, very apparent. This is not a slice of life series at all. This is, in fact, a Yuri harem series with this girl in the middle. And I'm not kidding. It literally is that. It sounds like something I would say as like a joke about another show, as, kind of my own delusions about what's happening, my own parallel fan fiction of the story, but it literally is just that. And like every kind of event of the show can be recharacterized as the schemings of Aiko-chan here. Look at that. Look, this is the face of a schemer. This is the face of a mastermind. And something like we keep talking about this bizarre war analogy for Yuri. And in 2018, Yuri like gained a lot of ground in anime. But something that I kind of miss from the days where Yuri was a little more niche was the feeling of like impossibility that you felt at the outset of a Yuri series. The feeling of they can't possibly go in the direction I want them to go in. And then that wonderful sense of just breaking through the impossible and things happening miraculously as they actually go so much further than you ever would have thought possible. And this show brings that back. I don't want to spoil how, but for the people who have seen it, I'm talking about the 7th episode. It's a show that shocked me in ways that I never thought a generic four girls slice of life series would be able to shock me. Um, it's really fantastic. I can't recommend the series enough. I've been reading the manga since. It's great. Um, I really do appreciate Hakaya's love for the genre of Yuri and her ability to bring it to the forefront in such a daring way. Um, so why is this only 15th on the list? It's just because 2018 is that good a year for anime. There's nothing wrong with this show at all. There's just 14 shows I liked even better. The next one we're going to talk about, one of those shows, is Hakume to Mikochi. This is a show that didn't get a whole lot of attention when it came out. The premise is strange. Our two main characters here are like 10 centimeters tall. They're basically living nendroids. They live in this kind of fantasy world full of talking animals and talking insects and all sorts of other really bizarre supernatural things. Um, and the budget is modest, but used in very nice and creative ways. It uses that kind of insert panel scheme that I saw and really liked in Scum's Wish, and I think some other shows I've heard use this as well. You know, where they'll have like a scene and then they'll insert like a panel of another character's reaction or like a zoom in on something that's happening. I think that's really cool and really clever, but it's also a really good way to preserve budget because you're not really redrawing that many scenes. So I can understand why this show didn't, you know, become this gigantic crossover hit. There's nothing super flashy about it. All it is like a very nice, kind show, very relaxing, very soothing, very cozy, and it appeals to me in ways that not many other shows do. The characters are very, very mature. They're like fully functioning adults. They both have jobs. They both have various responsibilities. They both have kind of reputations among the townsfolk, and they live like complete lives. You know, I often think that one of the main reasons that slice of life series are set in high school um, is because it's just such a simpler life to depict. You know, you don't really have all of the full responsibilities of adulthood. But this show really does a great job in examining every aspect of their life, and tonally it goes all over the map to facilitate this. You know, there's sad episodes, there's very heartwarming and moving episodes, but then there's like great moments of intimacy and tenderness. I think the characters are really well done in that regard. That Hakume is like very free spirited and tomboyish, and Mikochi is a lot more kind of domestic and kind and motherly, but they don't like settle to those kind of stereotypes. There's enough opportunities in the show to really bring them out as fully three-dimensional, real people. Um, I don't know. I just like little things like the fact that they drink alcohol together. It's just so cute and it's so realistic seeming. It feels like things aren't arbitrarily being kind of set aside from their life. There are other episodes that are just really bizarre, like kind of action adventure ones or kind of more genre parodies. And these are kind of nice because it's surprising how well these characters that we've come to know and love perform in these bizarre genre settings. And again, it kind of speaks to this well-roundedness of character, which I think is sometimes rare in anime. Yeah, fantastic show. I really recommend people check it out. Really just cozy and soothing outside of those more adventurous episodes, which are really nicely balanced by other very low-key episodes too. Like this is one where they just go on a fishing trip together. Doesn't that sound nice? It's like the whole episode. They take the train out, they take the train home, they go fishing. That's great. Now we're going to talk about something that is completely different from all of these, which is Pop Team Epic. Uh, this show probably needs no introduction. It became a massive crossover hit. Um, it also landed really impactfully in Japan. I saw Pop Team Epic merchandise everywhere when I was there last time, including in places where you would not expect it. Like they did crossovers with the post office. So you can go to a Japanese post office and buy Pop Team Epic branded like stamps and, well, maybe not stamps. That would be a little too crazy, but like envelopes and packing material and stuff. It's become like a cultural phenomenon for no good reason. This show is basically just shit posting. It's an adaptation of a truly bizarre and surreal four-koma series by B Cub, who's an absolute shit posting legend. I remember way back in the day, B Cub would go on JP, the 4chan board JP, and draw fan art of Toho characters for people. Because that's all he did back then was draw Toho comics. And now this. And now this. And what a show. Oh man. The the main structure of it is that they have like one kind of major sequence of sketches, which is usually hilarious and usually like a very over the top parody or something. And then this is counterbalanced with a lot of like shorter segments that are done by a wide variety of animation studios. There's these ones that are like CG that are done by this French guy who I guess works there but hasn't like read the manga or something, and he was just free to like come up with whatever these characters are and what they would be doing. There's ones that are like direct adaptations of the Four Koma comics, and they do a really good job bringing out the really bizarre uniqueness of B Cub's Four Koma writing style. Um, I think the fact that they're able to translate some of those jokes into animation is like, it can't be overstated how hard it would be to retain that sense of comedic timing. But they did. There's really bizarre sequences done by AC Boo, who I had heard of before for doing the wonderful music video for Policeman's Gallo Sengen. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please check it out. Gallo Sengen by Policeman. And their art style has improved since then. They were also responsible for Hell Shake Yano, hands down my favorite sequence in the show, and possibly my favorite sequence in any anime I watched this year. A moment so good that I showed my mother even. I was just so impressed with it that I was showing everyone I could. I probably watched it like 10 times. So yeah, this show is great. I think my favorite segments are actually the Pop Team cooking ones. This is a semi-frequently recurring segment. The music and the behavior and this weird sense of almost parody is just like maddening. At this show's best, you get this almost like manic feeling watching it where you're never really sure like what reference is gonna come next. They have some crazy references in this. There's Wacky Races references, which is like this whole old Hanna-Barbera cartoon that I guess B Cub watched at some point. There's an Undertale reference. We really out here. um, and it's like just kind of hitting you from all sides. But then in the middle of that, when you kind of step back and look at the show as a whole, and look at what a phenomenon it's become and how popular it's become and how much love and effort was put into it, and realize that it's all the brainchild from this one deranged man, B Cub, like, it's like a serene, beautiful moment that underlies all of this chaos and, you know, whatever this is. So yeah, fantastic show. Please check it out. I don't need to tell you to check it out. Everybody's watched this show. Here's another wacky one. Asobi Asobase. On the surface, a mild-mannered, fun slice of life series about three girls playing kind of traditional Japanese games, like children's games. And then things kind of go off the rails in every direction possible. Even more than Pop Team Epic, this series gives you that really good manic, depraved feeling that I also look to in like extreme harsh noise music, you know, things of that nature. I think anime is perhaps best suited of all mediums to capture this feeling, because the feeling of like limitlessness is so present in anime. Um, where at any moment, every format of what you're experiencing audio visually, every aspect of it could just warp and bend at a moment's notice, to completely express some incredibly depraved and intense moods. The show is largely about like suffering, yelling, chaos, misunderstandings leading to even more misunderstandings, people acting in bad faith and doing things that don't make any sense. It's I don't know. I don't know how to put it in terms other than this, but I also want to put it in terms that'll make people want to watch it. It's hilarious. I think it's probably the funniest show this year. Um, I say not quite remembering what else is on this list in terms of sheer comedy anime, but it is. It is really, really dang funny. The animation is fantastic. The lengths they're willing to go, like complete medium overhaul to express a wacky face. It's A plus, you know. That's the sort of thing I want anime to do. um, yeah, I don't know. It takes a lot to like shock me. I don't know. I already said that like this show shocked me and this show shocked me, but I still contend that it takes a lot to shock me, and this show would do it almost every episode. And I also really like that they did explain, you know, traditional Japanese children's games and stuff. Like they, in the end, it is actually a show about that, and you get to learn quite a bit about what Japanese kids do when they're bored. That was interesting. It was educational too, especially those segments at the end with the puppets. I learned so much from those. All right, the wackiness continues with Hinamatsuri. This is a show about this little psychic kid. She has tremendous psychic powers. Mysteriously, one day she arrives at this guy's house. He's like a Yakuza mobster, but kind of like a low-key one, more on the administrative side. And since then, his life just devolves into absolute chaos. The general kind of loop of this show, which I think is just brilliant and a model that more sitcoms need to emulate here in the West, is like you start with something insanely wacky happening, something like totally off the rails, and you kind of get some jokes out of that, you know, just out of the sheer absurdity of the situation, things just devolving into chaos. And then from that, you start making jokes now about how it becomes the new normal. Like you have all of the characters sort of adjust to it, and what kind of seems like at first it might have been like a throwaway joke now becomes like a legitimate plot point. And then once you've kind of hit the limit of that, once it is kind of unsurprising to people and they're used to this being the plot of the show, you can actually start doing pretty heartwarming, heartfelt moments. Like there's moments in the show where I realized, wow, I've really become attached to these characters. Even though I met them under such strange circumstances, their struggles and their triumphs are really affecting me now. And that's when they know they've got you, and they can hit you with the next bizarre twist, usually just something kind of incidental, that cropped up during the more prolonged slice of life period, will now suddenly be revealed to be like a huge deal and a major plot point going forward, and and then that, you know, kickstarts the whole cycle again. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And I never felt like at all exhausted by this show, which is rare for a series that kind of hits you nonstop with like comedy, action, and heartwarming feelings. Usually, the feeling I get when watching those things, unless it's done really well, is exhaustion. But they really kept things fresh. There's so many different angles to approach the cast from and the setting from, you know? You can have stories about Yakuza mobster stuff. You can have stories about this girl being a bartender. You can have stories about Hina's complete asocial nature causing conflicts in class. Like, you can do whatever you want. They've been able to open up a space that's so wide. You know, as I've been describing it occurs to me that what this show reminds me of most is One Piece. One Piece is the same way. You know, it's all about the combination of wacky comedy, great action, and really heartfelt emotional scenes. And like One Piece, it's all about kind of taking small opportunities that you leave yourself in terms of writing the plot, small little hooks that you leave in there, and then blooming them into major arcs. And like One Piece, I found with every arc of the series, I was just more and more invested and more excited to see what was going to happen next, and it continually felt fresh. I've been reading the manga since then. I'm all caught up with the manga. I think it's brilliant. I really hope they make a second season of this because they did a great job with the adaptation. And there's so much more good material to cover. So yeah, definitely check this one out. It's great. It really feels like a festival, you know? That's the title is Hina Festival. And it has that just kind of insane celebratory feeling underlying everything that's happening. Truly a festival of a show. Okay, so that's the first 5. We will make another video for the next 5. Can you guess what remains? Can you name all 10 shows that will still appear on this list? I don't know. I would be impressed if you could. Okay, bye-bye.